First Things First is sponsored by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf. That's the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. This is Nick Wright. Somehow, some way, we made it to Friday. We are so glad you're here with us for the next couple of hours. Fun show today. James Harden is making championship promises. Danny Ainge is defending Kyrie Irving like only Danny Ainge can. And in Philly, they're all in on Carson Wentz again. That's where we start, in the city of brotherly love. The Eagles showed Carson Wentz some of that love this offseason with a 4-year extension with $107 million guaranteed. His head coach, Doug Peterson, said he sees this season as a great opportunity for Wentz, and he was highly complimentary of his quarterback. Wentz coming off back-to-back seasons cut short by injury. A lot of optimism in Philadelphia surrounding this season. CC, how hard will it be for Wentz to return to his 2017 Pro Bowl form?
Well, the Eagles, what they've done is, and through trading Nick Foles to Jacksonville, allowing him to be out of their program, because you can't have Nick Foles with his resume winning the championship with the fan base they have there in Philadelphia continuing to look over Carson. Now, the concerns about Carson's health, Nick, I think you've done a good job through the months, through the years, talking about he's a guy that's injury prone. And if you're really giving an honest look on both sides of it, you have to talk about those injuries. And they just didn't start last year. They didn't start 2 years ago. They go back a number of years at every level that he's been hurt. So you have to talk about that. But they've done the right things as far as supporting him. Pro Football Focus has their offensive line ranked the best offensive line heading into the 2019 season. Even though they have question marks as far as their left tackle, Jason Peters, how much football does he have left in him? Yep. They have an insurance policy, drafted a guy in the first round to potentially add to, which is already a great unit.
Moved up to go grab that guy. Moved up in front of the Houston Texans, if I remember correctly, because they were worried they were going to take him. So they targeted that guy, moved up in the first round to get him, even though he's not going to start for them. They don't want him to start for them.
And it just gives them a great deal of depth. But if Jason Peters, can he stay healthy throughout the season? Or will this young guy take over, even though Peters has had a tremendous career? Their ability to get some balance, running the football. I believe Jordan Howard coming over from the Chicago Bears. A lot of people don't hear about him. I believe he's underrated as a player. They need a banger. They drafted a kid in second round, Miles Sanders from Penn State. He should be able to help them. But ultimately, Zach Ertz has shown he can be a #1 receiver, tight end. He's had a tremendous summer following his wife around with the World Cup, winning the championship. But I believe the biggest player be Deshaun Jackson. No one in the NFL has caught more 60 yards, touchdowns than him in NFL history. Now, we're going into our 100th season now. We've had some guys that can burn. We've had guys had a lot of yards per catch average. But when you put that with Carson Wentz and some of the things he struggled with last year compared to what he did 2 years ago, I believe bringing back that deep threat with that good offensive line, Jordan Howard giving him some type of punch in a running game, I look for Carson to be able to duplicate what he did 2 years ago and wasn't able to finish it up, getting injured before potentially winning MVP, Nick.
So what were the biggest differences between 17 and 18? So because if you look at it, you're like, okay, in 2017, when it looked like he was going to win the MVP, he had a quarterback rating of 102. And in 2018, when he had a losing record as a starter and the team was kind of floundering to a degree, he had a quarterback rating of 102. So how is that the case? Well, in 2017, he did it with an enormous amount of touchdown passes, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. In 2018, he did it by upping his completion percentage from 60% to 70%, which is an outstanding completion percentage, but far fewer touchdowns, only 21 touchdowns. Also, when he was great in 2017 in particular, his best quarter was the first quarter. 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 118 rating. Why does that matter? With the pass rush they had, they jumped out to early leads. They could then attack the opposing team. You could rely on that offensive line and running game. In 2018, his worst quarter was the first quarter. 78 rating, only 3 total touchdowns in that first quarter. So you're not playing from ahead, you're playing from behind. You're not relying on your strength. So even if from 10,000 feet, the numbers look similar, it was a less effective season for him. And some bad luck in that, so he starts 11 games, 3 of those losses, one time. They lose a game in overtime that they had a lead in overtime. That was the Mike Vrabel going for it instead of settling for the tie. They're up 17-0 going into the fourth quarter against Carolina. Defense allows 21 straight. Cowboys, they play him in overtime. And what I think was Carson's last start, they never touched the ball. Dallas goes down the field, scores a touchdown. So that 5-6, without Carson doing really anything differently, with better defense, could have been 8-3, and we're looking at the season differently. We're looking at what he did. So slower starts, bad luck, not as, like, that's how you go from, wow, this guy should be the MVP, to is this guy the best quarterback on his own team when his talent level has not changed.
So Doug Peterson, when asked about this offense, said, far and away, this is the most skilled and talented offense I've had as a head coach coming into a season. Do you agree with that, CC, looking at what they've had and these two the other good seasons that Doug Peterson had?
Well, I think specifically because when I talk about a wide receiving core, I typically talk about a basketball team. Like you need 5 different variances of skill level. So I know he respects the running back. That's why they really believe they got a gem in Jordan Howard. They were high on the kid from Penn State, Miles Sanders, drafting him. But their wide receiving core, Zach Ertz, if he was the center, being the tight end, he has shown he can get open, being double covered. He can run a variety of routes. Now you add the speed in Deshaun Jackson. So now it starts to fill out. He's the point guard. He's going to run it. They're going to play a fast tempo. And then you have other guys been on the field. Alshon, he'll bounce back from that drop that he had in the playoffs. We don't know where the Eagles season would have ended if he catches that ball. So I just believe the other players that they have, they really fill out that roster. Yeah, Doug, he should be confident. Also, he's got 2 years experience. I guarantee you he feels a lot better as far as what Carson can do, what kind of schemes can I put him in, what type of things does he like, and now that I'm adding some speed to it, I believe they'll have one of the most explosive offenses, Jenna, in the NFL.
And with